So please chant after me. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Lokesmin Dvividha Nishtha Pura Prokta Mayanagha Jnana Yogena Sankhyana Karma Yogena Yogina Sri Bhagavan Vacha Lokesmin Dvividha Nishtha Pura Prokta Mayanagha Jnana Yogena Sankhyana Karma Yogena Yogina Sri Bhagavan Vacha Lokesmin Dvividha Nishta Pura Prokta Mayanagha Jnana Yogena Sankhyana Karma Yogena Yogina. Chant. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Lokesmin Dvividha Nishtha Pura Prokta Mayanagha Jnana Yogena Sankhyana Karma Yogena Yogina. So let us read the word meanings. Sri Bhagavan Vacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Loke, in this world, in the world, Asme, finished. Still, it came back. Can you hear me? Obviously, you can hear. You can hear. But I don't know why the spotlight is coming on somebody else. It should be on me only, is it not? It is not coming. The internet connection is so unstable. So I'm out of the spotlight. Oh, maybe we should go to Goshala and do class. But that will take too much time. It is coming. I think it is coming. Audio is audible. No? But it's strange. Strange screen is coming. It is coming from Merit, not from. Anyhow, I'll not put it on a spotlight. I just make it the way it is. I think everybody can hear. Loke, in the world. Asmin. This is going again and again. We are just connect to Anish. Anish is my shelter. Hold on. Connected. Now it is coming. Something is coming now. Hare Krishna. I think they are understanding. एक क्लास करने में इतनी कठिनाई क्यों आती है भगवान? कुछ अच्छा नहीं है. Audio is coming? Okay. Dvividha, two kinds of Nishtha, faith. Pura, formerly. Prokta, were said. Maya, by me. Anagha, O sinless one. Jnana Yogena, by the linking process of knowledge. Sankhyana, of the empiric philosophers. Karma Yogena, by the linking process of devotion. Yoginam, of the devotees. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O sinless Arjuna, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who try to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand it by empirical philosophical speculation and others by devotional service. So I'll first again go back to Sanskrit. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha means Sri, the Supreme Personality, Krishna spoke. Loke asmin. Asmin means this, and loke means in this world. Dvividha nishta. Dvi means two, and vidha means forms. There are two forms of faith. Nishtha means fixed faith. Pura prokta, which I have spoken earlier, when the Lord has spoken in the second chapter. Maya means it was spoken by me. O Anagha, O sinless one, O sinless one, O Arjuna, you have not performed any sin. That's why you can understand these subject matters. What are the two kinds of nishthas? Jnana yogena sankhyanam, karma yogena yogina. Those who are sankhyites or sankhya yogis, they have faith in jnana yoga, that by performance of jnana yoga I'll realize Atma. And those who are karma yogis, who are offering their results of their fruits of action to Krishna, they are called karma yogis, which is Prabhupada is translating as devotional service. So they karma yogena yoginam. So yogi nam refers to the karma yogis or devotees. So they act, but they act for the pleasure of the Lord. So they are not into too much philosophical speculation or gyan, but they directly engage their senses in Krishna's service, and in that way they also realize the self. So now, why Lord is speaking this shloka has to be understood very clearly. Arjuna has said that if you think empirical knowledge or gyan is superior, okay, so we'll go ahead. So we were saying this, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, the Lord, Supreme Lord said, in this world there are two kinds of faith, which the Lord has spoken in the second chapter. He spoke about Sankhya Yoga and he spoke about Karma Yoga, is it not? Or Bhakti. So there are two kinds of people who are transcendentalists, and they have a faith that I must realize myself. So one person adopts the path of Sankhya Yoga, sense control, philosophical speculation, and by that they try to realize the self. And the other class of devotees is they act for Krishna, they engage their senses in Krishna's service, and in that way they realize the self. Okay? भाई भगवान पूरा तो करने तो श्लोका. Gita Bhushan commentary. After being asked, the Lord answers. What was the question? I want to emphasize on this. The question was, Krishna was asked by Arjuna in the third chapter, that if you think that knowledge of the soul is superior to actions, then why I should engage? Why you should engage me actions in ghastly actions? Who's now playing this? Can you tell them to stop this? They are not supposed to play it right now, is it not? At 8 a.m. their darshanarthi is finished. आज बड़ी बाधाएं आ रही. Anyways, so Arjuna had asked. आज मेरा मूड खराब हो रहा है क्लास देने में. इतने डिस्टर्बेंस तो नहीं आना चाहिए. So Arjuna had asked Krishna that if you think that transcendental knowledge of the soul is much superior, then why should I engage in a ghastly action called which is warfare? So now I am hearing the outside voice, so I am not able to focus on my class. That's a problem. Govindam Adi Purusham. Why he has to play right now, my dear Prabhu? Just don't agitate me. So anyway, just this takes a lot of energy to focus on what we want to say. Okay, now stop. Yes. So I'm just missing the whole link now. So Arjuna asked, why, if the soul of the transcendental knowledge of the soul is superior, why you want me to engage in such a ghastly warfare? So then Lord is explaining by giving the answer that if you fight this battle as a matter of duty, not to get material fame and material results, then it will also lead you to realization of Atma. That's the whole point. One person may be dedicated to Sankhya Yoga, applying Gyan, all these things. I am not the body, how I am not the body, all those things. He can meditate upon that. But another person may directly engage in Krishna's service by his senses, and that way the Lord will, from within, will remove this avidya. This is a potency called avidya, which covers our swarupa as soul. By which we forget who we are and we think that we are this body. You know these points? Avidya we have several times explained. So by engaging our senses in Krishna's service, automatically this avidya or ignorance in our heart is destroyed. So we don't have to simply sit down at one place and think how we are not the bodies. Does it make sense? We have to act as Atma, and then we become liberated from this bodily conception of life, just like if the iron is in contact with fire, slowly it becomes like fire only. Does it make sense? Okay. Okay, so that the Lord is answering the questions. O Arjuna of spotless intelligence, Anagha, by your statement in verse 1, though you know the main substance concerning the qualities of intelligence dedicated to action and to Sankhya, which are of contrary natures like darkness and light, why are you asking in doubt about being qualified for one of these? Now, what is the meaning of this? Means you are Anagha, you are without any sin. So you know that though both these paths are leading to realization of self. So why are you asking this question? Many times devotees ask a question which they know the answer. So sometimes we say also, you know, you don't know this, you know this, you are a devotee, you know this answer. Why are you asking? So Arjuna is being addressed as Anagha, that means he's free from sin. So he understands that both the processes are leading to the realization of soul. So he should have not asked. And he says, and he Lord also saying, you know that you are qualified for karma. In the sense you are a Kshatriya and supposed to act. You can't just sit idly in one place and control the senses in that way. That is very difficult. Which Arjuna will also confirm in the 6th chapter. The process of Ashtanga Yoga, what she have told me, is very difficult. So Karma Yoga is very easy for most of the people. Engaging in service of Krishna is very easy, is it not? But if you sit down in one place and start meditating how you are not the body, how you are soul, it is very difficult and very difficult for most people. So then, but the Lord is saying, but both the processes are bona fide. Now it depends what you are qualified for. I, the Lord of all, have in the previous chapter, Pura, described two types of steadiness or nishtha in two types of people or loke, according to the purity or impurity of their consciousness in terms of their aspiration for liberation. One thing I forgot to speak is that why Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga are compared to darkness and light. It's quite interesting. In Sankhya Yoga, a person is meditating and is philosophically speculating and is trying to control his senses, trying to bring them inward. So it is, we can say it is light. But in Karma Yoga, a person acts. So his senses are acting outwardly. So in one sense, on one Sankhya Yoga, a person is trying to bring his senses inward. In Karma Yoga, he is using the senses outward. But the result is same. Although they have contrary natures externally, but the result is same. Prabhupada explained it in a simple way that there are these impersonalists are there who are doing a lot of austerities, trying to control their senses, but they don't understand simply by taking prasadam, a devotee goes back to Godhead. By taking prasadam, by chanting Hare Krishna, by it may appear that a devotee is engaging in material actions, but a devotee is not engaging in material actions, selling books and all those things. Make sense to you? Yes. It's very important. Okay, a devotee is acting, but acting out of knowledge. Okay. Yes, please have seat. According to the purity or impurity of the consciousness in terms of their aspiration for liberation. Now, there's something very interesting. Technically speaking, if a person's heart is impure, then he cannot perform Jnana Yoga. And that the Lord is saying is kind of chastising. So probably you can sit on the chair. He will say that in the coming shlokas that a person who's controlling his karma indriyas, action performing senses, but his mind is meditating on sense gratification, he's not proper. That means he's not qualified for Jnana. He's better for him to act in the spirit of knowledge, with the mood of knowledge that this action has to be performed as a matter of duty for the pleasure of the Lord, and then his heart will get purified. This we'll see in the later on part also. So for Jnana, one needs one qualification, which is purification of heart. For performing Jnana Yoga, I'm emphasizing this point, performing Jnana Yoga, you must be purified in your consciousness. Otherwise, you cannot perform Jnana Yoga. We'll sit in one place, but we won't meditate on Brahman. We meditate on sense gratification. Then finished. But for a person to perform action is much easier. That is natural propensity. And then we can offer it to Krishna. That is much easier. Does it make sense? I think it's not difficult at all. The word nishtha or steadiness is also when a person performs action and offers it to Krishna, naturally it brings out knowledge in the heart. I am repeating this point again and again because this has to be applied. We can't just sit down in one place and think that I will become Krishna conscious. It doesn't work like that. We have to act, but not act selfishly. Okay. The word nishtha or steadiness is in the singular rather than dual, here very carefully, to indicate that there is only one steadiness, in the sense that both types of nishtha have only one goal, that of realizing Atma. They are not two nishthas with two different sadhanas and sadhya, but rather one steadiness of two types with the same goal. This will be explained later in the 5th chapter, verse 5, with ekam sankhya cha yogam cha. I know it went above the head. It's not that difficult. It's very easy. Suppose you have to go from point A to point B. So there can be two paths going from A to B. Okay? So you cannot say they are not exactly two paths, because ultimately they are going to the same goal. So a person who's Jnana Yoga, who's performing Sankhya and Jnana, he will try to situate himself separate from the body. So externally his process will look different. And the person who's doing Karma Yoga, offering his actions to Krishna, he also wants to realize his self. He also wants self-realization. Karma Yogi also wants self-realization. Devotee also wants self-realization. A Jnana Yogi also wants self-realization from A to B. Or from I to S, from ignorance to self-realization. That does make sense? So that's why Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan is saying the word nishtha is in singular. There is only one faith. नहीं समझ रहे? अच्छा चलो ऐसे दोस्तों easily समझो. A devotee wants to fix his mind on Krishna. Okay? This every devotee wants. Now the way individual devotee may choose to fix his mind on Krishna is different or not? Somebody will focus more on chanting, somebody will focus on Bhagavad Gita, somebody will like Bhagavatam, somebody like serving the deity. Does it make sense? Everybody will take a different path. They are all actually part of bhakti only, but some particular liking for a particular path. Does it make sense? So they are not different. Somehow they're engaged in Krishna's service differently. But the goal is to get love of God. So they are not different sadhanas in that sense. But it depends on what a person's liking is. So here it is mentioned, there are two kinds of nishtha. There are not two kinds of nishtha. Only one faith or desire that I want to realize myself. So some people are engaged in Jnana Yoga and some people will engage in Karma Yoga, like that. This will be again explained in the 5th chapter. Okay.
Which path will take much time?
The question is, which path will take much time? That's not a question of time, it's a question of adhikar. If I am not qualified for Jnana Yoga, sitting down at one place will not help me. I am thinking of sense gratification, then I am degrading myself. So it's better when person acts. Prabhupada is very heavy in this purport. He says, a sweeper in the street is better than a charlatan meditator. Exact lines are this. A person who is actually acting for Krishna is just sitting in one place, not doing anything. That is not appreciated by the acharyas, neither by Krishna. So now we are not saying you don't sit down and chant Hare Krishna. You chant Hare Krishna in the sense of devotees. That is devotional service. But there are some people who will make a show of sitting down in one place and meditating on. No, the show is for Krishna. They will make a show of meditating on Krishna, or they will just keep quiet. You don't know what they are meditating upon. You don't know, is it not? And people say, Moni Baba, but you know, yes. Big beard, everything, but you don't know what he's meditating upon. So instead of that kind of meditation, a devotee actively engages his senses in Krishna's service. Speaking is also engaging engaging our senses in Krishna's service. Hearing, chanting, all those things. Okay. So we must always remember, Prabhupada is not focusing so much on Karma Yoga. He talks about Karma Yoga as Bhakti Yoga, in which we directly engage in Krishna's service. It's not that simply offering the fruits of our work to Krishna, which is also there, but we directly engage in Krishna's service for Krishna's pleasure. Right now we are not doing Karma Yoga, we are doing Bhakti Yoga. We are directly discussing Bhagavad Gita for the pleasure of Lord. समझ रहे थोड़ा सा, ये बहुत सूक्ष्म अंतर है उसमें. That one steadiness has two types. Steadiness means faith to realize the self. Of the Jnanis engaged in Jnana Yoga and of the Yogis engaged in Karma Yoga. The word Sankhya refers to Jnana or knowledge and further indicates the person who possesses Sankhya. That means those who are Sankhyayites, they will focus more on trying to see the body separate from the self. The steadiness of such Jnanis by the process of Jnana Yoga, Sthita Pragya, has been mentioned in the 2nd chapter, starting with Jahati Yada Kaman Sarvan Parth Manogatan. That Jnana is Yoga. So in this way, in the sloka which has been referred by Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan is the person he will give up all kinds of material desires. Prajapati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmani atmanah tushta sita pragya tadachate. He becomes satisfied in the self. So this is referring to the jnanis who doesn't have to act externally, but is simply satisfied with his self. That kind of faith he has. So his jnana, through that knowledge, he's linking himself with the Supreme. That's why it is called Jnana Yoga. Does it make sense? You remember word was matpara also. He withdraws the senses from external engagements, but he fixes his mind on Krishna. If you remember those words, I mean, we have explained these things. Yoga means that process by which a person is joined with Atma, yujjate. So, Jnana Yoga means by the process of knowledge, he distinguishes Atma from body and tries to connect with the Atma. The process in this case is knowledge or Jnana. I know those who are coming here for the first time, they may not be able to understand what I'm speaking. But maybe understanding, may not be understanding. Steadiness by Karma Yoga of the Nishkam Karma Yogis or Yoginam was mentioned in such verses as Karmani evadhikaraste. Karma also is yoga, since by that karma a person is joined with purification of the heart, which gives rise to Jnana. What is said is this. I'll first read and then explain. One who desires liberation does not immediately achieve steadiness in Jnana, along with its components such as stopping the senses, but rather first purifies the heart by Karma Yoga with prescribed action. I have previously mentioned this in such statements as Eshate Vihita Sankhe. So now let me explain this. What is it? What does Lord want to say? Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan is explaining that Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga are not two different processes. But unless the heart is purified, a person cannot perform Jnana Yoga. Does it make sense? This is very clear. So by Karma Yoga, by engaging, by acting, but with knowledge, a person offers the action, the fruits of the action to Krishna. So in this way, his heart becomes purified. I give one example, very simple. You just hold your money in the bank. How do you feel? Very satisfied? Those who don't have money, they can't understand, but those who have money can understand. You simply keep on holding the money in bank, you will see never be satisfied. But if you use that money for Krishna, you will feel satisfied. But in that also there are two types of people. One person will give Lakshmi, but he said every day my name must be announced in front of Krishna. Still he has some desire to get recognition for his donation. But somebody gives some service, I said, no, I don't want anything. I'm doing it for the pleasure of the Lord, for the pleasure of Vaishnavas. Then he will actually feel happiness and peacefulness in the heart. So you see, externally he did some action by which he got some money, but that is offering to Krishna, but internally he feels satisfaction. This is not imagination. So many people, just now one relative of mine, my father's friend, he said, kuch shanti nahi mil rahi hai, kahin shanti nahi mil rahi hai, and nowhere I am feeling any peace. Why will you feel any peace? Unless you serve Krishna, how will you feel any peace? So I have seen so many times devotees who do some active service for Krishna without any expectation of money, they feel very happy. They don't feel that much happy or at all happy working for money. Now people obviously have to work for money, have to get money, but we don't say that we don't get money. But actual happiness when you serve Krishna selflessly, you feel very happy. Even little service you can do. Even if you can cut vegetables, you will become very happy. You will see that. This is practically experienced because Krishna becomes happy in that. So this is one point. Now, what happens is, the example will be given by the Acharyas. I've given several times. A pregnant woman has child in the womb, but you can't see the child. But the child will be manifested in certain amount of time. Does it make sense? Similarly, a person who's acting, so he said, kahan bhakti kar raha hai? What is this bhakti? Going out and purchasing books and this and that and preaching to people. So, yes, he may act externally, but in due course of time, the love of God will manifest within the heart. You must understand our process of self-realization. As the love of God becomes to manifest, it automatically destroys avidya in our heart. We don't separately try for self-realization. Is that clear? We don't try to separately realize ourselves. We engage our senses in Krishna's service by which the love of the Lord is manifested. and automatically avidya is destroyed. Prema bhakti jahan haite avidya vinasha jaite. Don't worry, avidya kaise nasht hoga. We don't worry about avidya. We just keep on engaging in Krishna's service, and you see, you become peaceful. You become self-realized.
If this engage senses only for the pleasure of Krishna, then it is automatic. Otherwise, if you are engaging in Krishna's service but for the pleasure, then
Okay, there are 2 points. The two points. If I engage my senses for Krishna's pleasure, then it is self-realization. If I engage my senses in Krishna's service for my pleasure,
it will take time.
it may take more time. But you must understand, still it is very good. If you take prasadam because it is tasty, will it not affect you? Still it will affect you, is it not? So many people got affected by that only. They were not saying, oh, Krishna has come in front of me. Oh, and maybe even now you will not think like this. Is it not? You will only think, rice, dal, sambar, chapati, wow. That's fine. But once you keep on taking prasadam, you get purified. You have to start from somewhere. We will have to act at the level of the consciousness we are. So there is no point, but at least the goal has to be there for the pleasure of the Lord. Now, if you take somebody's remnants, are you putting yourself in a humble position in front of that person? Yes. So it may be enjoyable or not enjoyable. It is obviously enjoyable, prasadam, but we are putting ourselves in a humble position before Krishna, which is our real position. Does it make sense? So even if he likes it, but if he accepts only prasadam, actually that is the process of self-realization. Atah Sri Krishna namadi na bhaved grahyam indriyai sevon mukhe jivadau swameva spuratadah. Very nicely Prabhupada explains, you can't understand Krishna by your head, by your intelligence. What? Everything we understand by your head only, intelligence. No. You cannot catch Krishna by your intelligence. You have to engage your tongue in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and taking only prasadam. Only prasadam is very difficult. It's not an option. Some days prasadam, when prasadam is available, when food is available, then we take food. No. Only taking prasadam. Then Krishna reveals. It seems to be very simple, but it's not that simple, my dear devotees. It's not a simple thing. Only take prasadam. But if you want to realize the self, that's how it is. And that has been spoken by Uddhavji in Bhagavatam to Krishna himself, that Krishna, simply by taking your remnants, your devotees become free from Maya. That means those who do not take remnants and take food, they will be captured by Maya. Okay? So we are saying a person is engaging his senses in Krishna's service, automatically he becomes self-realized, automatically he becomes detached from the material world. In the second chapter, verse 39, the Lord explained 2 kinds of procedures, namely Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. Esha te bhita Sankhya Buddhi Yoge timam shrinu. The Lord explained in 2.39 that up till now I have explained to you the process of self-realization through Sankhya Yoga. Atma cannot be cut, Atma cannot be drowned, like this. So a person who is Sankhya Yogi, he will meditate like this. Who am I? I am not fire. I am not water, because all those things are not the qualities or do not have the qualities of Atma. But do we do that? We don't do that. Okay. So Buddhi Yoga means, Prabhupada very simply puts it, Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, same thing. Bhakti Yoga, same thing. You understand with your intelligence, I am not the body, I am Krishna's servant. I must engage in Krishna's service. Simple. It appears very simple, but it's very, very simple. Actually very simple. And if you engage in Krishna's service, then you will see, finished. Everything, the whole kachara jo hai, wo khatam hota jayega. Avidya will get destroyed, and then we gradually realize ourselves more and more. Okay? I read the purport of Prabhupada, and we have less time today, and then if some time is left, then I'll just explain some more things. In this verse, the Lord explains the same more clearly. Sankhya Yoga, or the analytical study of the nature of spirit and matter, is the subject matter for persons who are inclined to speculate and understand things by experimental knowledge and philosophy. Very clear? They will think, how we are not the body, this body can be burned, I cannot be burned, Atma cannot be burned, Atma is different from the body, who am I? So they will start mentally and philosophically speculating, and this is their process. I can't speak much on what they are doing because I don't do that process. I don't do that every day. I'm not the body, I'm not the body, I'm not the body. We don't chant 16 rounds of I'm not the body, whatever. But probably they are doing that. It is hinted in by Shukdev Goswami. What is that? tapasa brahmacharyena shamena damena cha tyagena satya shauchabhyam niyamena va, like that. There it is process, this the process of knowledge is explained there. The other class of men work in Krishna consciousness, as it is explained in the 61st verse of the second chapter. The Lord has explained also in the 39th verse that by working by the principles of Buddhi Yoga or Krishna consciousness, one can be relieved from the bonds of action, and furthermore, there is no flaw in the process. Now, here very clearly, when a person acts for Krishna, he is not getting bound by the action. That you understand? And the flaw, and there is no flaw in the process means we have a natural propensity to act. So that propensity is not suppressed. Because if the propensity to act is suppressed, the person will nonetheless act the way he is supposed to act. नहीं समझ रहे? जो काम करने की प्रवृत्ति वो करेगा ही, आपको रोकने से रोक नहीं जाएगा. A person who is a businessman will do business. It's not that if you tell don't do business and sit down and meditate, and he will start meditating only. I give an example, very funny example. His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj was giving this example. One devotee, ISKCON devotee, somehow that went to a Dhyan Shivar, a meditation camp. So then he did not come to class or whatever. Then Maharaj was chastising him. Kahan gaya tha? Where were you gone? He said, I have gone to this Dhyan Shivar. And he was a farmer, by the way. So he said that, okay, so what were you meditating upon? So he said, I was meditating upon my pump, tube well. I have left my tube well and the water was running. So I was meditating upon it. So you can't stop a farmer to think about tube well, is it not? Naturally, you think a tube well chal gaya, wo pani chal raha hoga. So all the while he was meditating on this. Then Maharaj said, what others were doing? He said they were snoring. So what happens is they will just keep in Dhyan Shiva, sit down, and they don't even tell what you have to meditate upon. So somebody may be thinking of his tube well, some may be thinking of his wife or daughter, who knows? So by that, you don't get self-realization. So that is not the process of Kali Yuga also. So I'm just saying, that means there is a flaw in this process. A person is not qualified for Dhyan, and now you say, you please meditate. उस परमपिता परमेश्वर परमात्मा का ध्यान करो. But they don't tell who's that parampita, who's that supreme father. How will you meditate upon anybody? Anything you meditate should have a form, is it not? So if you make it formless, how will you meditate? So it's all cheating. So now you can understand if I tell you to engage in some service, just like Shubham is a website designer. So he's designing the website or helping to take up the task of improving the website of Gomata. Very easy, is it not? You don't know how 4, 5 hours, 6 hours pass. Like something which you are naturally inclined to, very easy to do, is it not? Everybody has a different propensity, but that propensity should be trained. One should be trained to use it for Krishna's service. Okay? The same principle is more clearly explained in the 61st verse, that this Buddhi Yoga is to depend entirely on the Supreme, or more specifically on Krishna. And in this way, all the senses can be brought under control very easily. Therefore, both of the yogas are interdependent as religion and philosophy. Religion without philosophy is sentiment or sometimes fanaticism, while philosophy without religion is mental speculation. This is extremely important. I'll read the whole thing and explain this point. See, if you are just thinking, okay, Krishna is Supreme Personality of God, I'm his servant, that is very good. But you also have to act in that capacity of a servant. Does it make sense? Chanting Hare Krishna is very good, and you can quote all the shlokas glorifying the Hare Krishna mantra, but we must also chant Hare Krishna. That's what Lord is saying. And now, what happens when there is no philosophy, then there is only bhavukta. They don't understand why Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, how he has to be worshipped, with what attitude I should serve Krishna, what will please Krishna. Those things are also gone. So both have to be combined. Divya Naam and Divya Gyan. Transcendental name, the process of devotional service, and also devotional the philosophy or Siddhanta of devotional service. We have heard it very clearly in Bhagavatam. Pashyanti Atmani Chatmanam Bhaktya Shruta Grahitaya. The devotee, by his mature devotional service, is able to see the Supreme Lord directly in the heart. How? Bhaktya Shruta Grahitaya. Shruta, what he has heard from the spiritual master, he hears and he accepts it. Oh, I will do like this. And in that consciousness, when he renders service to Krishna, then as he becomes mature, he can see Krishna one day. So it's extremely important. The whole process of bhakti is actually based on the process of hearing. So Prabhupada is saying this. It's not that we have no philosophy, and it's not that we have only philosophy and nothing, no action for Krishna. So action has to be based on philosophy. Does it make sense? That's what Prabhupada is saying. The ultimate goal is Krishna, because the philosophers who are also sincerely searching after the absolute truth come in the end to Krishna consciousness. This is also stated in Bhagavad Gita. Do you know the shloka? Bahunam janmanam ante jnanvan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. So a person who is seeking knowledge may be searching what is the goal of life, what is the goal of life in Upanishads. But after all this search for billions of lifetimes, somehow then he understands that Krishna is everything. Krishna Supreme Lord, everything belongs to him, I belong to him, and my only duty is to serve Krishna. So now Prabhupada says very simply, a person can waste or engage so many lifetimes to accept it. And if a person simply accepts on the authority of the spiritual master in Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is same as perfect as that Jnani who has cultivated his knowledge for millions of lifetimes. Can you understand the association of devotees? Understand the value of association of devotees? Simply we accept from Bhagavad Gita. Is it not that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead? We are not very intelligent people. You are intelligent? Okay. But that much intelligence we have that we are not intelligent. So we don't do research work. Research has been done by the sages. They have established Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am worshipping him. Brahmaji is saying, I am worshipping. So now whom we should worship? If grandfather is worshipping, then why should Krishna? Then why should I change my option? Okay? Okay. So you understand this point? So we don't have to chase the truth after us for billions of lifetimes, except from Srila Prabhupada, except from Brahmaji, except from Lord Shiva, and worship Krishna. This is also stated in Bhagavad Gita. The whole process is to understand the real position of the self in relation to the super self. Now you see, just reflect upon it. All those jnanis are not necessarily knowing that they are servants of Krishna. Don't take it cheaply. We know that we have a particular relationship with Krishna. Is it not? We don't know the relationship, but we know that it is there. Are you able to understand? But don't think that these so-called jnanis or jnanis know this. Just go back to Mahaprabhu's Leela. Was Prakashanand Saraswati knowing that he is an eternal servant of Krishna? And how many disciples he had? And in which ashram they were? Sannyas ashram. The Guruji does not know, and the disciples do not know the simple fact, Sambandh Gyan, who they are in the relationship with the Supreme Lord. So it is a mercy of the Vaishnavas like Srila Prabhupada who explain it in such a lucid language. Lucid means very easy to understand language. Highest truth, who we are. It's amazing. Not knowing this, we waste billions of lifetimes in the material world. Who we are. I hope you are able to understand what I'm trying to say. Thinking that I'm this body, woman, dog, cow, and different species were thinking like that. We always acted the way Maya has dictated us. Does it make sense? We cannot understand how much glorious we are, that we are knowing what is our identity and we know how to act as per that identity as servants of Krishna. We know exactly clearly, is it not, after at 9 a.m. what you're going to do? Take prasadam. After that, what you're going to do? Yeah, sleep. Or no, do some service. And it's amazing how whole programs is chalked out by Srila Prabhupada. What you are supposed to do as a servant of Krishna. You may take it very cheaply, but nobody knows in this material world who they are. The indirect process is philosophical speculation by which gradually one may come to the point of Krishna consciousness. We have discussed this point. And the other process is directly connecting everything with Krishna in Krishna consciousness. We were just talking about this. Of these two paths, the path of Krishna consciousness is better because it does not depend on purifying the senses by a philosophical process. This also we have discussed. For Jnana Yoga, one must purify his senses. Otherwise, he cannot perform Jnana Yoga. His mind will only go for sense gratification. Here, very carefully, our hearts can be utmost degraded, dirty. But it doesn't disqualify ourselves from bhakti. I'm repeating. हमारा हृदय बहुत गंदा हो सकता है, दुनिया में सबसे गंदा हृदय हो सकता है, फिर भी हम भक्ति के लिए अयोग्य नहीं है। पता नहीं आपको कैसा लग रहा है सुन करके। फॉर ज्ञान योगा यू नीड टू हैव अ प्योर हार्ट. फॉर दैट यू फर्स्ट परफॉर्म कर्म योगा एंड देन यू बिकम प्यूरिफाइड. But for bhakti, for chanting Hare Krishna, you don't need a pure heart. Hari harati papani dushta chittar api smritah. Lord Hari destroys the sinful reactions of a most sinful person. That's why it's called Hari. In chanting Hari, what do you need? Prabhuji, what do you need for chanting Hari? What you're supposed to chant? Hari, Hare Krishna. So what do you need for chanting Hare Krishna? Tongue, yeah, simple. Simply need a tongue and a little faith and inclination to chant Hare Krishna. If I say you please chant Hare Krishna, you say ठीक है ठीक है ठीक है बोल दिया, तो Hare Krishna क्यों नहीं बोलते? Please hear many devotees become discouraged by this. No matter how much impure my heart is, I am not disqualified from bhakti. You know Mrigari, who was slitting the throat of animals and was being tadapad kare when the animal is what is said suffering. I feel great happiness in my heart. I hope none of you are like that, is it not? So I'm just saying, bhakti creates all the good qualities in the practitioner. That has to be very clearly understood. बस जब करते रहिए अपने आप सारे गुण सद्गुण आ जाएंगे. समझ रहे हैं मेरी बात? Okay, that's what Prabhupada is saying. It does not depend on any philosophical process, purifying philosophical process. Krishna consciousness is itself the purifying process, and by the direct method of devotional service, it is simultaneously easy and sublime. So chanting Hare Krishna is very easy. For anyone can chant Hare Krishna. I mean, a kid can chant Hare Krishna. But sublime means it's transcendental. You must have experienced a devotee who's practicing Krishna consciousness in due course of time. He feels a transcendental taste in chanting Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji. Our Zoom devotee will say, yeah, you are a neophyte. We are already in the bliss of chanting Hare Krishna. But all of us have that experience. It's not chanting Hare Krishna is actually blissful, is very nice. Not every day, but sometimes. Specifically, if every day you make up this mind, I will chant very nicely. So within 16 rounds, I can guarantee you will have some moments of blissful chanting, is it not? Every day. I was very much disappointed. On my right hand side, to the screen, to the window, I was seeing how devotees were just joking and chanting Hare Krishna. And joking and joking and joking and chanting. I said, nothing against them. They have never been trained how to chant Japa. Japa is not, it's like around right now we have a kind of meeting, is it not? And now I'm checking on my phone and WhatsApp, and then you are also doing like that, and we're just joking. How can we make any communication? This is our exclusive time with Krishna. And you know, once you start doing it, you don't want to do anything else in that time. This is very, very powerful. Mukund Dutt Prabhu, you must be knowing, Prabhupada disciple, he was telling about Dravida Prabhu, who was an editor of Bhagavatam. He was telling about him, he said, he was saying experience to Mukund Dutt Prabhu, or Vaisheshika Prabhu, I don't know, some of the Vaishnavas. He said that now I'm so absorbed in chanting that even Darshanarthi I don't want to wake up. And it happens. Wake up means, get up. Every day it's happening like this. So it is happening with one Vaishnava. So why should not happen with us? It's just a matter of practicing. And you can see how many devotees are getting that kind of nishtha or fixedness in chanting Hare Krishna. So what I'm trying to say, by chanting Hare Krishna, for chanting Hare Krishna, you don't need any qualification. And chanting Hare Krishna will give you all the qualification. Only qualification for bhakti is one should have a desire or faith in scriptures which propagate or which establish the path of bhakti. Bhakti pratipadak granthon mein shraddha. A taste to hear scriptures which are establishing the path of bhakti. Simple words, taste for hearing Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting Hare Krishna. When I'm saying taste means an inclination, not really like ecstatic taste. And if that inclination is that अच्छा लगता है कुछ सुनने के बारे में, then बस finished. You have adhikar for bhakti, and you keep on hearing, and then Krishna will give you all. Krishna will clear all the things which are in the heart. समझ रहे ना? श्रवणताम स्वकतः कृष्णा पुण्य श्रवण कीर्तना हृदयन्तस्तभद्राणि विधुनोति श्रुतसाम. Simply, when a devotee who has developed the urge to hear and chant about Krishna, Krishna will clear everything from his heart. Beautifully put by Srila Prabhupada. Beautifully. I was reading yesterday, Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Every time you hear and chant about Krishna, your love for Lord is awakened. Beautifully put. Every time you're reading Bhagavad Gita, every time you hear Bhagavatam, you hear chant Hare Krishna, little bit your love is becoming more and more awakened. I mean, very, very inspirational. So we should take our time every day to hear about from Bhagavad Gita, hear from chant. Why I was so much inspired, because our devotee was chanting very beautifully this today Mangalarati. Then I was thinking, Prabhupada corroborates it. He says that even if people are completely unconscious, but a devotee is chanting Hare Krishna, they are hearing Hare Krishna, is it not? Many times in the temple they are busy with their phone, but devotee is chanting very loudly. So it is going into their ears. Sometimes they are like on their phone, but they are dancing also a little bit. You have seen in Mangalarati, they are tapping their feet and like this. So they are hearing something. I saw one person today he was dancing like this. So he's hearing. Now you don't understand, because he's dancing because he's hearing Hare Krishna. So now his love for the Lord is becoming awakened. What an amazing mercy. What an amazing mercy. It's very nice. Somebody tastes prasadam, he appreciates prasadam. Little bit. Some transformation is happening. Here's Bhagavad Gita, something is happening. And you see that even if we don't understand the lectures, somehow we like it. Is it not? In the beginning at least. Later on we don't like it. ये तो बोर कर रहे हैं, वही बात बताएंगे. कुछ नई बात बताइए कि मैं भगवान हूँ. What the same thing, whole thing. No, but you see, it's just the same thing. Many times I hear the same lecture over again. Very tasty, is it not? That's the whole point. I just take up some questions if they're there. Some people say that when we meditate on ourselves, we become happy. But reality is that only Krishna can give us real happiness. But how can you meditate on yourself? Do you know yourself? We don't know ourselves. Ourself means this body that we are meditating anyhow all the time. I am this body and how can I enjoy my senses? You don't become happy by that. What if Mrigari keep on doing sin and also chant Hare Krishna? Mrigari did not do that. It got transformed. Now, very good question. Explained by His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj. In this Aghasur pastime, Krishna did not want his devotees to enter into Aghasur. Agha means pap, and Asur means Asur. But they entered. So Lord is saying that even if the Lord does not want, somehow the devotee may perform some sin, but Krishna will bring them out from that Asura. This is the whole 6th chapter, 6th canto. Ajamil was so sinful. Even if a devotee does some sinful activity, Krishna still protects him. But a devotee should not take advantage of it. You see, Maharaj was explaining very nicely, even if we do not want to commit sin, certain bad habits don't go away so easily. So that's what Gaur Krishna Maharaj explained. Krishna is saying, don't give up sinful activities. He said, give up dharma. Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam praja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshashyami masacha. भगवान ये नहीं कह रहे हैं कि पाप छोड़ के आओ, कहते हैं धर्म छोड़ के आओ, पाप मैं छुड़ा दूंगा. Are you able to understand this point? You take shelter of Krishna, you take very strongly to the path of bhakti, and you see by the mercy of Bhakti Devi, everything will be cleared. See, like I never drank liquor in my life, so that was never a problem. And also I was not attached to tea and all those things. So for me, there is no problem. But I know one devotee who has a trouble with giving up liquor. I mean, he's a devotee, very sincere devotee, but since he has drunk liquor since all his life, it's not easy to change immediately. I have my own anarthas, a lot of anarthas, but many anarthas have been gone away, is it not? I feel so much taste for discussing Bhagavad Gita and all these things. So from where the taste is coming? By bhakti only, is it not? So then by we keep on doing bhakti, the all the anarthas will be given away. What is that? Ei hoite sarva siddhi hoy betamar, Mahaprabhu is saying. And this makes me eager to discuss Shikshashtakam. But Mahaprabhu himself says all the anarthas will be destroyed by such chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So that devotee who asked this question, if I say at 11 a.m. there is a very nice movie in Noida, would you like to go? I don't think anybody is thinking of movies, is it not? Are you? Movies? No. Who will watch the movies? Nobody. Who is the latest film star? Anybody knows here? Nobody. So already you are so old, is it not? 80 years of age? Nobody is there 80 years of age. So how much purification orderly is happening? Young people, they do not know who's the latest movie star. And you will see that this is something very interesting. That's why I love Bhagavatam. Rasagraha jana. Once a person has tasted bhakti, even if he falls, not everybody falls, even if he falls and he commits some sinful activity, he says, this is boring. Utna maja nahi aa raha jitna pehle aata tha. This is very boring. Somebody may watch a movie and all those things and he said, this is boring. Because it's actually boring. I've explained several times, Jiva Goswami very clearly says, even in Anarth, from the stage of Shraddha you had taste, only it become manifest at after Anarth Nivritti. Samajh rahe na meri baat? It was not that without any taste you came to bhakti. Were you not missing? And Prabhuji, job nahi karna, bas ho gaya, job nahi karna. I don't know how to do job. So you are not happy. So now you are happy? Hopefully. Happy, yes. We are not paying you anything, but you are happy. So I'm just saying, every day, day after day, just like today, I woke up at 4 a.m. Oh, 4 a.m. Oh no. So most people say 4 a.m. is too good, isn't it? For me, 4 a.m. is 4 a.m. It's too late. So you see, so we are developing some taste for waking up early in the morning. Practice Krishna consciousness. But then in offenses toward holy names says that one should not do sin in the name of holy name. How to understand that? You see, a devotee should not have this attitude, थोड़ा murder कर देते हैं फिर हरि नाम कर लेंगे. I'll kill him and then I'll chant Hare Krishna. You have to understand what is the mood of a devotee. I cannot give up these sinful desires on my own strength. This has to be clear for all devotees. We don't have the capacity to purify our heart on our own. But even if I have to go to hell for my sinful activities, I'll not stop serving Krishna for even a second. Does it make sense? 9.30, you read that commentary. I mean, we have not reached there, but I have posted in Hindi group also. Even if I have to go to hell, I'll not stop serving Krishna for a moment. That is the mood of a devotee. So he's not committing seventh offense. Make sense? And keep on chanting, keep on chanting, keep on chanting, and all that avidya will go away. And unless there's a material desire, why a person will commit sin? Tell me. Only thing is we have to be careful not to offend devotees, because if you offend devotees, then a desire for sin will come in our heart. That is also possible. So why should you offend devotees? Why should you not serve devotees? Why should you not please devotees? That is the point, is it not? Okay. So Prabhupada explains, even if it is offensive, you should chant. If बिना chanting किए आप अपराध से मुक्त नहीं हो जाएंगे. What is that? नाम अपराध प्रयुक्ता नाम नामानि एव हरन्ति अगम अविश्रांत प्रयुक्तानि तान एव करणानि च. Even if a person is infested with offenses to the holy name, by constantly chanting Hare Krishna, his offenses will get nullified. And he has to hear Sambandha Gyan. Hear how he should chant Hare Krishna, be in the association of devotees who don't offend the name, and if you by carefully chanting Hare Krishna, then you get make progress in of holy name. Otherwise, how everybody, why you are coming every day for Bhagavad Gita class? Don't you get bored? एक ही बात तो रोज बोलते हैं, ज्यादा कुछ तो नई बात नहीं बोलते. So we get taste, is it not? So in spite of committing offenses, also by the mercy of Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, they just don't see our offenses. They just don't see our offenses. You simply can't offend them. Obviously, we should not take license, but seek their mercy. Okay? So shall I stop here? Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande.